Hello, my name is Gavin Ralph, and I will be presenting on a presentation called Stable Foundations. The point of this presentation is to encourage parents to raise their children in a firm and stable manner so that their child may be the next Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was an orphan. He was adopted as only an infant, and his adopted parents were some of the best you could ever ask for. This is partly due because Steve Jobs was a very difficult child. He did not fit in socially, and the more prestigious of a school that he was given, the more he disliked it. This was a theme that followed Steve Jobs throughout his entire life, but it was one that his parents, his adopted parents, often had to struggle with, but continued to support him anyways. This also was a problem because it meant Steve Jobs was often with a rowdier group and antisocial. The point of what I'm saying is his parents made sure that no matter what the case, Steve Jobs was supported and he was guaranteed to have someone in his corner from the time he was born, even being an orphan. This played a major role in his confidence to create an Apple as amazing and as remarkable as Apple. I want to use this to segue into the next section of this presentation. The next segment is about what we as parents should do to encourage this type of lifestyle for our children. And this starts with the nuclear family. According to practical psychology, the nuclear family is not only pivotal, but it is the strongest connection that can be made to a child in their early years. It is the same people that will be around this child for the majority of their life. The mother and the father will project their morals, their goals, their feelings, their aptitudes, and attitudes towards life onto their children. And then their children will take these things and they will go forth with them, providing that strong and endeavoring attitude set before them, just like Steve Jobs. See, children are moldable. I know this because as a young child, I was given a very harsh situation. My mother was a drug addict, and my dad did not have custody of me. He had to fight for me, and ultimately it was a very harsh mess that I work through even today. My dad later was himself on drugs, which just added to the issues, and throughout the years I gained a social distancing, much like Steve Jobs. I struggle to trust, and there's just a variety of things that it has caused issues with me in. So take it from me, there is a very heavy importance on the nuclear family. So the next part of this is that as a nuclear family, there's things we should be doing for our children that sometimes we don't think about. And that is really what I want to focus on for the remainder of this presentation. See, in my experience, one thing I do have in my life that has been a blessing, as I would say, because of all the harsh things I've suffered, is I have this insight to know what I wish I would have had, to know what I would have appreciated, to know what's needed for me to succeed. I have this self awareness. And something I've seen as an issue as of late is patience. Parents, at least around me, often struggle to be patient with their children. They don't have time for them. They don't have the ability to listen for an hour at least once a week, which, yes, is tedious. But this plays a major role in how your child will perceive themselves. If the person they trust most, such as their parent, cannot even find their child's life valuable enough to listen to for at least 1 hour a week, it will make themselves, the child, perceive themselves as invaluable. This also can be reflected by how the parent keeps the child's room, how the parent structures the child's life, and most of all, just the attitude towards the child. See, I took part in raising my nephew when he was around the ages of 3 to 8 years old. During this time, my father was coming out of a drug relapse and he was working on himself. But I mostly took care of my younger nephew. And because of this, he taught me a trick. I used to have to put my little nephew down to sleep each night. And as long as I wanted to put him to sleep and go back to whatever activities I had for the night, he would struggle to fall asleep. He would not want to. He would be restless. And my father, he told me, he said, if you will get in there with him and you'll just make up your mind that he is the most important part in that time of frame, that moment, that child will receive it. He will understand your patience and your concern for him, and it will give him a peace of mind that he matters. And so I tried this, and sure enough, it provided, and my little nephew started going to sleep without issue. It is little things like this that will make all the difference for a child and in their home. And while I've not given a great multitude of examples, I want you, the listener, to take this mindset and apply it to every aspect of your life. I want you to apply it to how much thought you've put into the dinners you make for your child, to getting your child's feedback for clothing or how well you communicate or just their school life. Different things like this are going to make a major difference for you and your child. The next part is rather short, but during this, you can have parental burnout. Parental burnout is very common. Sometimes it's difficult for you to want to keep fighting for your child, to keep putting in this effort every day, especially with jobs, especially with just any of the multitude of things that tear us down in life and tear us and our families apart. But I implore you to keep fighting and to not be down on yourself because you failed at this or that. That's common. That's normal. That is not only normal, it is so normal that I think it plays a healthy role in the child's life. To let them know that you're not perfect and neither are they, and they shouldn't feel like they have to be perfect for you. So if you do fail here and there, I want you to know that's more than fine. You just got to keep going and you've got to keep loving your child and you've got to keep providing that base because it's things like this that will dictate your child's confidence. So just keep fighting. The last thing I have to say before I finish this is a thought that I've had that I believe is powerful. And it's on the screen, but it says, how we raise our children shapes the future that they'll create. I want you to let that sink in as a final thought because this summarizes it. We often don't think about it, but these things that I've mentioned beforehand, such as the meals we prep or how much effort we put into our child's daily life, will dictate how they live their life. And how they live their life will dictate the world that they live in. So if we aren't raising children that are confident, that are proud of themselves, that have a vision just like Steve Jobs, with their parents supporting that vision, then we'll have no more innovators. We'll have no more builders, no more future creators. So I just implore each and every one of you parents, or even soon to be parents, or any of you with a little sibling that you sometimes take part in, put thought into the little things. Take the time to love and encourage them and be a little selfless here and there. And just know that those that are following you are the littlest ones we often forget about. Thank you.